Hey, welcome back to the Confidad podcast. My name is Dan Tinquist, your host. So glad to have you back with us today. Beginning, like every episode, with our fatherhood mindset. Say it out loud with me. I'm the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, and so is tomorrow. I'm wholly loved, so I will love wholly. So last episode, we wrapped up the rule of life, those four pillars of what guides and directs everything, why it's there, kind of that undergirding purpose or passion or why of every action, everything, every rhythm, every schedule, all of it, right? If everything's falling within those four things, we can hardly ever say we're wasting time. So more power to you as you engage with that, as you push towards that, as you start to implement that in your family's life. Obviously, it's not exhaustive and it can amend those, but I hope that as you implement those, they start helping you live life on purpose, like living the life that you have in your future, right? The one that you want for you and your family. I like to say it this way. I say this to myself every day, twice a day. I choose to live my life and not let it live me. Because if we are living by default, oftentimes it can feel like life is just living us, right? And we can throw our hands up and be like, it is what it is. No big deal. I guess I'll just live whatever. And then our relational issues don't get solved. Our personal issues don't get solved. Our issues with our kids don't get solved. We just manage instead of actually create a life that we are proud of, that we're excited about getting out of bed. You know, the most successful people in the world are the ones that like choose what kind of life they want to live, and they move in that direction. They see adversity as their training partner. They see setbacks as the ways to get set up, the ways to like move forward. They don't use excuses. They get rid of a victimhood mentality and they move forward, choosing to say, I'm going to live my life in this way. And I want to help you apply this in your parenting. Okay. This episode, notice I got a little windscreen here. I realized when I was editing that my voice was cutting out some on the past episodes, and it's because I had some pops and snaps and stuff. And so I apologize. Hopefully this will mitigate that as we move forward. Today, I want to talk about, in our equipping section, letting your no guide you deeper. What do I mean by that? Well, when I think about how often we as parents say no to our kids, so many times it just becomes the default. It just becomes the automatic, robotic no, or not right now, or maybe later. Anything other than a yes, like, yep, I'm in. Anything other than that, I want to help guide you deeper. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's negative. I'm just saying as we assess our relationship with our kids, our connection with them, it's really important to become a student of your children, which is what I help you do, and then also become a student of yourself. Like, what am I doing when I'm doing what I'm doing? Okay, there's lots of great resources out there that can help you with that, from StrengthsFinder to DISC to Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, all of the above. But when you ask yourself this question, what is going on when I'm saying no to my kids, or where my initial response is not, yeah, let's do that. It can help you start to peel back the layers of your decision-making within your parenting. So as you think about this question, you ask yourself, why am I saying no? Before we ask about why, let's start with this. How often do you say no to your kids? Like a couple times a day, every hour, a couple times every 10 minutes, depending on whether you're with them? I want you to think about the last time that you said no to your child or children and their response to it, okay? Like I said, anything other than a yes counts as a no, because kids are very black and white, and they will hear something like, yeah, in a few minutes. And what they're hearing is no. Or, yes, just give me 2 seconds. My favorite is when you say, just give me 2 seconds, or just give me a minute, and the kid sits there and they count to 2 or they count to 60, and then they're like, is that good enough, right? Obviously, there are certain situations where we need to not, just cave in that moment. We need to not say yes, like in the middle of making dinner or in the middle of whatever. But the idea is, how do you incorporate your kid with a yes into whatever's going on, right? Or be interruptible enough to be able to say yes no matter what's going on, okay? So like I said, this is not black and white. This is nuanced. It's an art. Understanding what's behind your no is a really important aspect in understanding what blind spots you might have or what roadblocks you might have in developing deeper, more joy-filled bonds with your kids. So we asked you this: how often do you say no? Okay, thinking about that last time that you did that. What were your kids' response or reaction to that? Were they disappointed? Were they understanding? Were they respectful? Were they bummed? Any other response? What common requests of your kids get denied almost all the time, right? I can think of one. Can I sleep in your bed tonight? Heck no, you can't sleep in my bed tonight. Do they eventually get there because I'm too dead asleep to wake up and they come in at 2 a.m.? Yes, sometimes. But the reality is that, like, I will say no to that all the time. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. However, and that all depends on age. Don't get after me for that. But like, what other requests do your kids make all the time or very frequently that you deny? And once you get there, understand there's a power in my no, and it can start to build up a roadblock. It can start to build up a wall of disconnection between you and your children. So I would love to know. Shoot in the comments or email me, like, what are the common things that your kids ask for that you say no to all of the time? What time of day are you more susceptible to say no? Is it in the evening after you've finished work? Is it in the morning when you're in your routine getting ready to go to the office? Is it on the weekends because you've worked all week and you come home and now there's projects to do around the house? By the way, your projects, they'll be there for a long time. Like, projects never end, it feels like, for most of us. Your kids, the goal is actually to not have them around every single day, eventually, right? The goal is launching into independent, confident, healthy adulthood. So actually, the goal with your kids is to get them out of the house. Projects will be here, okay? I'm not saying never do projects, except, well, look, I haven't put a window in yet, but we're getting there. So as I was saying, projects are always going to be there, but our kids aren't, on purpose, right? So it isn't to say we always say no to projects and yes to our kids, but it is about understanding, like, how often are we saying no to them so we can keep doing projects? And are we doing so just because we don't even know why? Some of the common things that I've heard about saying no to kids, or understanding, like, what is going on when you're saying no, even if it's not a needed no. Something like, I actually feel really uncomfortable when I'm around my kids. I don't know how to be around them. I know how to be around adults. I know how to be at work and achieve and do all the things in my career to continue to advance and grow this legacy. But I honestly don't know how to be in the room with a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 13-year-old. It's really hard for me to connect with them because I don't know how to do that. That's a really brave thing to be able to say. It takes a lot of courage to own that. It also takes a lot of soul searching to be able to say that, to even know that that's what's going on in your family structure, okay? It's okay to say that. You're not alone in saying that, but it's not okay to stay that way, right? Especially if you're building a legacy, if you're pushing in the direction of wanting to build something for your family and generations to come. It's going to be very important that those family bonds and connections, relationships are healthy enough to carry the weight of that family legacy that you want to pass on. Sometimes the why behind the no has to do with a lie that you've been carrying, a lie that you've been living with for a long, long time. Have you uncovered it? Have you been able to ask what's going on? Explore maybe that inner child walking around inside of you and say, what have I been holding on to as a lie for longer than I needed to, but it's helped you survive up to this point? If that's something you like, sounds totally foreign to you, or you're like, that's curious, I wonder what that's about, we unpack that in my course. Maybe your why no is because you have expectations that need to be met. You have deadlines. You have other things that need to be accomplished. And so you say no because you have expectations to meet outside of your relationship with your kid. Realize that weighing those expectations up against each other is a very important part of understanding when it's okay to say no and when it's not okay to say no. When it's wiser to say no to meeting the outside expectation instead of meeting the expectation between you in your family. Maybe there's opportunities, and opportunities equal like advancement or equal accomplishment or equal accolades. These opportunities provide you with financial incentives. Are you saying no to your kids because you have opportunities coming in front of you that you're like, this opportunity is more important than saying yes to my kids? Like I said at the beginning, it's not negative, positive. It's just the idea of like understanding the power of a no is really, really important. And then you can start to analyze that and understand, okay, it's wise to say no in these situations. And it's foolish to say no to my kids in this situation. When you dig deep into this and you let your no guide you deeper, what it can uncover for you is the ability, it can do this, okay? It's not promised, it's not guaranteed. It's easier with help. But if you can discover the why behind your no, what it can do for you is unlock the ability to be present no matter where you're at. If you're able to be present at work and be more productive at work so you can be more constructive at home, that's a real gift, right? Maybe you say no to your kids because you have all this stuff still going on in your mind and your mind share isn't gated and limited to when you're working, because your mind share is working when you're at home and you're trying to be productive instead of building constructive relationships at home, right? So understanding the why behind your no really has the power to unlock being present. Present with your kids, present at your job, present when you're in your flow state, right? And being able to just let go and be unproductive when you're at home. It's totally fine to be unproductive when you're around your kids. In fact, I would think it's probably one of the best ways to spend time with your kids. You can absolutely be productive and work on projects, invite them into the contributions, which we talk about. But the majority of the time that you spend with your kids, I would be willing to bet, usually isn't quote unquote productive. Does that equal a waste of time? Does it? I hope not. I hope you don't see spending time with your kids as a waste of time because it doesn't equal production. So letting your no guide you deeper, one of the best ways to do this is actually in a group setting. In a group where you can unpack this in a trusted space where it's confidential and you're able to start to hear from other people. Why do you say no? What's going on behind your no? And maybe if I get a peek behind your no, it'll help me understand a little bit more behind my no. In fact, this coming week, this is going to be released on Friday in March. If you're listening to this before Wednesday, March 19th, we are going to be unpacking this in my masterclass. In fact, it's going to be pretty much a discussion all around this topic where we hear from each other and get behind the no's. We get behind what's happening when we say no. If you'd love to be a part of that, I would love to empower you to show up for the masterclass. And right here on the podcast, I'm going to give you the opportunity at 66% off the masterclass this month. Okay? If you hear this and you want to join in, go ahead to my website, www.confidad.com, and shoot me an email and let me know that you heard about this deal on the podcast. And I would love to have you in for this one-time discount on the masterclass coming up on Wednesday. So if you want to be a part of the masterclass on Wednesday, just mention that you heard it here on the podcast and I will give you a 66% discount. Would love to have you in there. Would love to have you have a peek behind my no, a peek behind the other guys in the group that are talking with us about what's going on when I say no. Okay? So I hope you feel empowered today to unpack this a little bit. Go ahead and do it on your own if you want to, but if you want to do it in a group, would love to have you be a part of the masterclass this month. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.